Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Scruffy's Guide to Valheim, and this evening we are going to be looking at how to defeat the Bonemass, which is the third boss in the game, and to be honest quite a lot of people have found this one a bit tricky, so stick with me and I will talk you through it. First off, let's go through the equipment and the armour set you should have. You should have... Come on, tooltip, do your stuff. There we go. Iron scale mail, which is pretty good, and you should have upgraded this as much as you possibly can. So there's a chest piece, there's an iron greaves leg set, and there's the iron helmet. So that's going to involve a lot of crypt diving to get all of that iron together, but it's definitely worth it. Secondly, in terms of weaponry, you are going to want to be using a sort of as much upgraded iron mace as you can be bothered to do. And I say that because I personally don't really enjoy the mace. It's just a personal preference thing. But against Bonemass, you kind of need blunt force trauma, which is what this is particularly good for. So it's definitely the weapon of choice. And make sure you've got a level 3 bandage shield. Aside from that, there are a couple of other things that you're going to need. They are the best healing potions that you can get your hands on. You might not actually be able to get medium healing potions by this point in the game. I can't remember. This is my late game character and I've just sort of re-equipped all of the other gear. So if I've got that wrong, please forgive me. But I know that you can get poison resistance mead, which you definitely will need for this fight. 3 bottles should be enough. Have some spare just in case you die, because you will need to rebuff this up in order to get back to claim your stuff. Other things to remember are you've got to have at least 10 withered bones with you, so I've just grabbed a pile of those. It's worth bringing some stone and a hoe, because you want to flatten some ground around this area where we're going to do the fight, so just make sure you've got all of those things. And then there's food to consider. Now, if you have spent enough time wandering around in the Black Forest, you should have found plenty of thistles, which will have enabled you, with your time in the swamp, to make sausages, which are amazing, great food, 60 health, 40 stamina. Hopefully, if you've been lucky, you will have found yourself a turnip somewhere along the way, and you can combine that with meat and make turnip stew, and this is great. I mean, 50-50 stamina and health, that's really, really handy food. And then, depending on how your life has gone, you're either going to want some sort of normal meat, because that's 40 health, or if you're sort of a bit weak on the old stamina side, then maybe carrot soup. I mean, it's only 20 health, so I wouldn't do this if you haven't got the sausages. You know what I mean? Because you want to keep your health as high as possible, but getting your stamina up is also worthwhile. So it's sort of a juggling act. You've got to consider which one works for you. So that's the equipment side covered. Now let's briefly just discuss how to find the thing. In order to locate the Bonemass, it's a simple case of finding another one of those small kind of red coloured rune stones. Not the big ones, the small ones. You're going to locate those either in a sunken crypt or possibly in a kind of round castle-like structure in the swamp. And they're normally down in the basement. Don't know why it's the basement, but that's where I found one, and I've also found other ones in the crypt, so I know they're there too. Then Bonemass appears on the map in a similar way to the other bosses, and it's just a simple question of getting there. For me, in this particular game, I live over here, so I had to sail around the top of this island, round here, and ended up building a little portal just here, so easy access back to and fro in case I died. I would recommend building a portal in a safe space nearby. It's always a good option. Not too close though, because you don't want to get it smashed up, because then it's kind of pointless. Right, so let's go and show you the prep work that you need to do at the site. Here we are at the location where you summon the Bonemass. It's a giant skull with a massive glowing mouth. You can't really miss it, to be perfectly honest. If you're anywhere nearby, you will spot this. But also, I mean, it's marked on the map, so, you know, there's that. First bit of prep I would recommend is to cut down anything tree-like which is really nearby, and then I would get your hoe out and do some ground leveling, just because you want to try and get rid of as many of these puddles as possible, and you want to have a nice area that you can run around safely without getting too soaking wet, because that affects your stamina. And the other problem with being wet in this place is that that's where the eels live, so just avoid those. And then the other thing, I did tell you to bring some stone with you, and that was because I thought it would be a good idea, and I'm kind of sticking with this, that if you build yourself one of those, you can actually use your stone to raise the ground a little bit. So in these kind of deep pockets, you can get rid of those, and it will make your life a heck of a lot easier. That'll do. So that's kind of a general prep. That will sort of... Now the plan is, we're going to summon it, right? It's going to coalesce somewhere around here, and we're going to just sort of constantly be backing away from it and then nipping in and pummeling it a little bit. But let's rather than explaining that, let's actually show you before my rested bonus runs out. One really important thing, don't forget to drink the anti-poison potion. That is something I just very nearly did. So yeah, neck that stuff. Just the one bottle, fine, that gives you 10 minutes. Then it's a simple question of sticking the old bones in a slot and then putting them in its mouth. Right, so it's going to coalesce over there. Right, it's a giant mass. Okay, it's got 3 different types of attack. It does a big overhand smack where it hits the ground nearby. It throws blobs and occasionally skeletons. And the other thing it does is kind of spew out poison in a big gulf like that. So the trick is, you basically let it do one of those things and then you give it a slap. Oh. And then you run for it. And then you just kind of back away, because what you don't want, what you absolutely do not want, is for it to spew on you. Like that. Because that goes quite a long way. That's got quite a large area effect. So that is essentially the fight. You just wander around in a big circle, avoiding your puddles. When he throws out a load of goop, deal with it. Because you don't want to get sort of too overwhelmed with all the additional enemies. If you've been out here for a long time, like I have, recording things, and your food starts to run out, make sure to re-eat, and that will keep you alive. And at various intervals, if things start looking particularly dark for your hit points, just remember to use a potion, which I have conveniently put in slot number 8. And aside from that, it's just a question of walking around and making sure you get in there in between his strikes and then running off. And as you can see, with the mace you are getting yellow damage, so that's slightly kind of better than if I was using, say, a sharp weapon or a bow. I mean, bows are basically useless against this thing. That's an annoyingly far distance away. There we go. Fist, and then you can have a quick pop, pop, and then run out. Don't go for more than a couple of hits, because that's when you die. This fight will take you a while, but better safe than sorry. And what I'm going to do now is just essentially carry on the fight until it's near the end, and then bring you back and show you what you get as a reward. Okay, one thing I would say is make sure that you manage the ads, because if he keeps throwing out blobs and occasionally skeletons, and you don't deal with them, then you can kind of end up in this awkward situation, which I'm kind of in now, where there are just loads and loads of blobs everywhere I look, and That's just a bit awkward because it means that the chances of getting poisoned go up considerably, and poison is one of the problems with this fight because it just keeps ticking away. So just be careful to manage the ads. And the other thing I can't stress enough is the importance of walking. There's a time for running and there's a time for just walking away. If he's not spewing, you don't need to run. You just take your 3 hits and then walk. I mean, I did run there, I was a bit scared. That's a spew. Ah, he got me. Okay, so it's kind of a bit... Because I've got the poison resistance in, it's only 2 points of health per second, but it is quite a long one. So just be careful of that, because once that poison resistance runs out in 2 minutes, that will be more like about 7 or 8 damage, so you really want to avoid that. Okay, now it has got to night time, and we are nearly towards the end of the fight. I have taken a second potion, so this fight has been going on for 10 minutes. A couple of things to work out when it's night time, right? Because you're already wet and it's now cold, I have a bit of a stamina problem. So the way I countered that is the stamina regain is really delayed by those factors. The way I countered that is I've eaten some carrot soup instead of some normal cooked meat. I'm down a little bit on maximum health hit points, but I have got much more stamina. And the fight kind of rolls on. You just have to keep being careful of all this spewing up. And then keep getting in your 3 hits when he comes near. So basically, just as before, let him swing, step back, step in, smack, smack, smack. Now, watch the stamina regen though. And keep dealing with the ads. There's a spew. Yee. Right, here we are at the end of the fight. Probably one last spew. We'll just wait out of range for that. Oh, he's going to throw more people. We'll just kill these guys. Oh, took a whack there. Done. And we're not poisoned anymore, and that is fantastic. So you are looking at a couple of things on the floor right in front of me here, which are the whole reason that we just did all of this business. The first is the wishbone, and the second is the Bonemass trophy. So you get the Bonemass trophy, you go and hang it on the rock, and you get the next buff choice, which you can use, which is basically a large amount of resistance to all types of damage. Kind of handy if you like to scrap a lot. But as you can see, I've still got Eikthyr switched on at the moment, just because I like to run around more than I like to fight. And the second thing you get is a wishbone, which I've actually got 2 because I've done it before. As it says here, you can now sense hidden objects. In actual fact, it's pinging right now to say that there is a hidden object somewhere nearby. But I'm not going to talk about that right now because I'm going to explain that in my next video, which is how to survive in the mountains, which is our next biome, our next destination, and where we get to find silver. If you want to make sure that you don't miss that video, please remember to subscribe. If you're finding these helpful, please press the like button. And as always, feel free to leave me a comment. I'm happy to answer questions and to do videos of anything else that you think you need to know, that you think I might already know. God knows what that might be. Until next time, happy hunting and enjoy Valheim. Bye bye.